I need like a marker. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sophia. Thank you for watching. And you also may not know that I have had a breast reduction surgery. It's now 7, almost 8 months post-op, but I still to this day get a lot of questions in regards to my surgery. So I thought I would take the opportunity to dedicate an entire video to the most frequently asked questions that I get in regards to my own personal experience with a breast reduction. So to start this video off, before I answer my questions, I figured I would kind of take you through the process a little bit. The first step being the consultation. I got referred to the surgeon that I actually ended up using for the actual surgery by my primary care physician. I had been wanting to get the surgery for a very long time. So when I went in for like my 17, you're supposed to get like a physical when you're 17. When I went in for that, she actually referred me to the surgeon that I ended up using for the surgery. So I called them, she gave me the number for it. I called them and I booked my consultation. Consultation was super easy. You just go in and try to get as much information as you possibly can. You tell your surgeon basically how you feel about your breasts and why you want the surgery, if it is actually a good decision for you to get the surgery, and you just kind of talk to them. They look at you, they tell you what they think you should do, and if you were to get the surgery, they tell you basically what to expect and how much they think they'd probably take out. At consultation, you also talk about costs and pricing, like you give them your insurance information and then talk about how much you would expect to pay. If you do decide that you want to get the surgery done, you book your pre-op appointment. So once your pre-op appointment is booked, you go in for that. I think you actually are supposed to pay at pre-op. I paid at pre-op. At pre-op, I actually have a video about my pre-op appointment. It's my very first video ever. I'll link it in the description down below. But basically pre-op, you just go in, you pay, you book your actual surgery date, and then they give you a bunch of information and they tell you what you need to do and what you're not supposed to do before surgery. In the weeks leading up to surgery, there's like a lot of stuff that you can't take. You're not allowed to take aspirin. You can't take there's like a whole list that they give you. Then they give you like a list of stuff that you have to have ready before surgery. You want to have your stuff ready before surgery because after your surgery, if you're not gonna want to have to go out and get anything. So you need to make sure that you have everything ready, prescriptions filled. You have to get like some stuff like milk of magnesia. You have to get this thing called Arnica Montana, which is supposed to help with bruising, that you take like a few days prior. If you want to see like a full complete list, I will link my pre-op video in the description down below. I go way more into depth on that. But yeah, essentially your pre-op appointment, you just go in, book your actual surgery day, pay, and then they tell you what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do before surgery. Really easy. I think it was only there for like maybe 30 minutes, and then they give you like a big like packet of information to take home with you. At pre-op, you book your actual surgery day. 3 to 4 weeks after your pre-op appointment is when you're supposed to have your surgery. The day of surgery actually starts the night before surgery. You have to get all prepared. You have to make sure you have everything ready so that when you come home from surgery, you're as comfortable as possible. The night before, you have to take a shower with this antibacterial wash called HibaCleanse. It's like this pink stuff. You have to make sure every part of you is clean. You have to wash your hair with it. You have to wash your whole body with it. You have to just make sure you're like completely not covered in anything. And then you also have to stop eating, I think like 12 hours before your surgery. You're not allowed to have water. You're not allowed to eat anything. And also make sure you get a ton of rest the night before so that the day of you're just more at ease. Surgery is already kind of like a scary thing to go into, so you don't want to be any more apprehensive than you already are. So make sure you get a good night's rest, and then make sure you're all ready for the big day. The day of surgery, you have like a check-in time that you're supposed to be there. It's usually like an hour before like they actually perform the surgery, but before you can actually go to your check-in time, you have to make sure that you take another shower. You have to make sure you have no piercings in. I had to take my nose ring out. I had to take all my earrings out. You take all your rings off. You make sure you don't have any lotions, creams, deodorants, any of that stuff on your actual body. And then you take another shower with that antibacterial stuff, but this time you don't have to wash your hair, so which is nice because who wants to leave the house with a wet head? And then you put on freshly washed clothes, very clean clothes. Make sure you're all nice and clean to reduce the risk of any kind of infection. You go to your appointment, you check in, you go in, they send you into like this little room, and your nurse comes in and talks to you, asks you if you're on like any kind of medication, birth control, if you've been sick in the last few weeks leading up. She just basically asks you a bunch of questions, and then she goes, takes her information, you know, and then you just wait. Your surgeon comes in and talks to you. You change into like your like surgery outfit, which is just like a hospital gown and like these like fake underwear and then like some socks. And then he like marks up where he's gonna be making the incisions, and he just kind of talks to you a little bit, tells you what to expect, what's gonna happen. He leaves, and then the last person comes in, your anesthesiologist. He talks to you, tells you how he's gonna administer your anesthesia, where he's gonna do it. He kind of like looks for the best place to put it. He chose the vein on my wrist. I actually had I don't know if you can see it, I actually had a really gnarly bruise from it, but I bruise very easily. Then he leaves, and then your nurse comes in, she gets you. I said goodbye to my mom. I actually found the experience incredibly relaxing. I loved my nurse so much. She was like the sweetest soul ever. I loved her. I felt very comfortable around her. And I was actually pretty comfortable. Like I wasn't on like a hard like hospital hospital board. I don't know. I think a lot of people when they get their surgeries done, they're on like a hard flat surface. That's not how it was for me. I was in like a nice comfy bed. They put like a warm blanket on me. It was like literally like a warm blanket. Like it was heated. I don't even know, but it was so comfy. And then they put these things like around your shins that basically like lightly squeeze you. It's supposed to like, I think, help with like blood flow and circulation, but it felt like a massage to me. From there, you just lay down, and they like kind of hook you up to a bunch of stuff, like little like things they stick on your chest and whatnot. They hooked me up to everything that I needed to be hooked up to, and then from there, my anesthesiologist administered my anesthesia, and then before I knew it, I was out like a light, and then before I knew it, I was waking up again. I actually have a vlog of my whole entire surgery. If you guys want to watch it, I'll put it in the description down below. Waking up from anesthesia was really interesting. Everyone reacts differently. For me, I was just very cold. I was very like, I was shivering. You can see it in my video. I was just like shivering, and I was crying. I wasn't sad at all. I just couldn't help it. I was just crying, and I kept like apologizing to my mom. I was like, I'm not sad. Like I just can't help it. Like, I don't know why, but I was very concerned with like making sure my mom knew that I was like, okay. But that's basically it. You wake up, and then they showed me like what they took out of me. They actually ended up taking out way less than they had anticipated. When I went in for my pre-op or my consultation, they said that they probably wanted to take out like 330 cc's from each breast, but they ended up taking out like, I think it was like 200 and something, not sure. And they showed me it's like in little jars. You can see it in my video also. And then you wake up, you can't really, I mean, you can like walk, but it's like really hard because you feel very weak, and you were like doped up on anesthesia for like hours. So they wheel you out. Very awkward experience because my surgery center was in like a shopping center basically. So there were like there's like restaurants nearby. There were people that were like getting their hair done, and like people that were like eating like breakfast. I don't know. And then like I literally looked horrendous. I looked like so scary. I looked like The Grudge. I looked like a mental patient that escaped from an insane asylum, and they were just like wheeling me to the car. But I didn't care. I was like, I just want to go home. I want to go to bed. I was so ready to pass out. And then from there, you just recover. Recovery was actually not as bad as I was expecting it to be. The first few days were a little more difficult, obviously, because I had just gotten out of surgery. But basically, I wasn't in like a ton of pain. I was just very uncomfortable. So I was taking a lot of painkillers. You have to take antibiotics. You have to have someone like take care of you. Like my mom was taking care of me. She was like giving me medicine around the clock, making sure that I like could go to the bathroom. She had to like take my pants down for me because like I couldn't do it myself. I couldn't even like stand to brush my teeth up. You're just very exhausted. So you just really need to spend that time just recovering. I only took my painkillers for like 4 days. And then after that, I just completely switched to Tylenol. Taking painkillers is really terrible. It makes you really constipated. It's like, it's pretty brutal. So as soon as you feel like you don't need to take them, I wouldn't recommend taking them anymore. So I felt like I didn't really need to keep taking it, so I stopped taking it. And I actually felt pretty good. Like I felt okay. So that being said, that was basically my entire process from consultation to surgery. As I mentioned before, I will link both of my pre-op and my surgery videos down below, but we are 7 months out and I still get a ton of questions in regards to my surgery. I feel like I've answered most of the questions, but in like other videos. I haven't dedicated an entire video to just my like most asked questions. So that's the purpose of this video. The number one most asked question that I get is why? People like to think that if you are naturally born with big boobs that you've essentially won the lottery, and that's just not the case. For me anyway. I know a lot of people that have or a lot of women that have really large boobs and they're totally happy with it. That's fantastic. Good for you. You go, girl. But for me, my experience with having a large chest was obviously not good because I went and had a surgery in order to get them reduced. My life before surgery was hard. Or not hard, but it was harder than it is now. Having big boobs, especially for someone with my body frame, I'm like 5'2", 120, 125 pounds. I'm what's considered like a petite girl, and having boobs that big really just got in the way of basically anything that I wanted to do in life. I had really intense back pain. I had shoulder pain that was really bad. Like my posture even now is like not what it should be. It's horrible because I just had like weights, like essentially like curving out my shoulders. Clothes didn't fit right. I really couldn't exercise properly because like my boobs were just too big. Like they got in the way. Anytime I wanted to do any kind of physical activity, like I would just be in agonizing pain. I decided to get the surgery just in order to improve my overall health and well-being, and also to make myself look more proportionate. I'm gonna insert a picture here of what I looked like before I got my surgery, because I feel like a lot of people don't really know like the extent of like how big my boobs were. So I'm gonna put a picture in right now. I looked very disproportionate, as you can see from that picture. In that picture, I had a bra on, but I had zero padding in the bra. It was just like literally like a piece of cloth. And I just didn't look good. I looked way heavier than I actually was. So I decided to get the surgery, and I am so glad that I did. If someone is trying to tell you not to get the surgery simply because they don't want you to not have big boobs anymore, tell them to fuck off. And if you feel like you really want the surgery, get the damn surgery. It's gonna make your life better. Don't listen to anybody else's opinion. Listen to yourself and listen to what your surgeon has to say about the subject. If you feel like you really want the surgery, get the surgery. I recommend it. Probably tied with first place on most frequently asked question that I get is, what size were you before and what size are you now? So the size that I was before, I was a 34 triple D and growing. That is way huge for someone my size, and they were just getting bigger and bigger. Like the bra that I was, like the last large bra that I bought, I could feel it was getting smaller, and I had like boobs like starting to spill out. So I was way ready to get the surgery. And the size that I am now, I would say I'm like a large C to a small D. So I still have what is considered large boobs. I just look far more proportionate. They're higher up on my chest, and they're just better. And I feel like that's like a misconception. Everyone thinks like when someone hears the word breast reduction, they think like you're basically like just completely getting rid of your boobs, and that is so not the case. Most people that get a breast reduction surgery, like they're going from like an extremely large size to just like a large size. Probably your boobs are still gonna be big after you get the surgery. Less big, but still like a good size. Like you're not completely getting rid of your boobs. Don't be afraid of that. Just make sure you trust what your surgeon is doing, and the outcome will be worth it. Another question that I get asked a lot is, how much did it cost? Every place, I'm assuming, is going to be different depending on where you go and also what kind of insurance you have. For me, I had to pay all up front at pre-op. My entire surgery for the entire thing, start to finish, was $7,600. So I had to pay all of that up front, and then how my insurance works, like I would possibly get approved later. A lot of times insurance companies won't approve this surgery if they feel like it's a cosmetic surgery, if it's considered voluntary. Mine, I was really worried that it was gonna be considered voluntary, because even though like I felt like I really needed the surgery, it wasn't a surgery that was considered necessary. There are so many other women out there that have like actual like rashes, they like far larger boobs than I do, boobs that have more like sagging and like actual like chronic diagnosed back pain. That would be something considered necessary, and most likely their insurance would approve something like that. So for a really long time, I didn't know if I was gonna get approved for my insurance or not. Luckily, I did, and I got a refund of like 5,000, like 200, 800 and some dollars. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, it's really just dependent on where you go and what kind of insurance you have. You know what? All of these questions, there's like the big 3 questions. Why are you doing this? What size were you before now? And then my other third most asked question is, can we see before and after pictures? Obviously, I cannot put pictures of my boobs on the internet, nor do I want to, but I'm going to do my best to show you, kind of give you guys a good idea of what they looked like before versus what they look like now. Again, I'm gonna insert a picture now. And I'm just gonna kind of like show you now, like as best as I can, without actually being naked, of what they look like now. So as you can see, they are far more proportionate to my body. They're still on the large side, but they are significantly smaller, and I look way better and I feel way better. Overall, incredibly happy with my surgery. I really wish I took pictures immediately following surgery, but I just didn't. I wasn't focused on that. But I do want to show you guys what my scars look like now. I am 7 months post-op. In the next year, my scars should be virtually invisible. They are still slightly raised and they still have like a little bit of color in them, but they're doing really well. Some days if I wear like something a little bit too tight, they will get a little bit more inflamed, so I try not to do that as often as I can. It's best to just leave your scars alone and kind of let them do what they need to do in order to heal properly. So I'm gonna show you guys my scars, but just kind of picture them like raised and more red, essentially. Raised and more red, and that's what they looked like immediately after surgery. And then I just had like really intense bruising, like especially like in my under boob. All right, so that is what my scars look like 7 months post-op. Like I said, within the next year, they should be virtually invisible. They're actually doing really well in my opinion, but even if they were totally inflamed and they like looked really terrible and I like wasn't scarring properly and I was gonna be left with like really dark scars forever, I would still get the surgery. The way I feel now versus the way I felt before is just so worth it. There's so many other topics on just this one specific subject that I could touch, but I feel like I just keep getting like the same ones over and over again. So I wanted to address those and get those out of the way. If you have any other questions, you can definitely leave them in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. Again, everything in this video is based off of my own personal experience. If you want to know more, you should really consider setting up a consultation and talking to a surgeon about it. Everybody's experience is going to be different, but this was my own personal experience in regards to my breast reduction. Okay, I think that is all for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment. I love reading your comments. It's my favorite thing in the world. Again, if you have any other questions, you can definitely leave it in the comments down below. Otherwise, I think that is all for this video. I love you guys so, so much. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.